Even men at the top of their game find themselves wanting more from life. Whether it's more meaning, unshakable confidence, a bigger impact, more money, deeper love, a hotter sex life, or a powerful legacy. Find out how good your life can be on this episode of Man Alive. Also, as I've supported men in their love and work lives for 15 years now, many men ask for the right words to say to be more successful, attractive, and desirable. But I found it's not so simple as giving scripts or lines because every man is different. So giving words or scripts would be like giving a tall, thin man a shorter, wider man's pants, or vice versa. The words have to make sense for you and your personality, and there's so much happening beneath the surface that people are responding to. If you're interested in how to become a better lover and leader in your own unique way, go to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz, or you can text ALIVE to 44144. It only takes a couple minutes and you'll start to get an idea of how you can be both more respected and desired. After you fill it out, we can schedule a time to review your quiz and talk about your specific challenges and desires. So again, go to either shanajamescoaching.com/quiz or text ALIVE to 44144. That's ALIVE to 44144. Enjoy this episode of Man Alive. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Man Alive. I'm excited to be here today to talk about living the moment to the fullest. And I was just thinking about how this can seem like one of those topics that's a little out there, whether it's philosophical, theoretical, spiritual, but my goal with this topic is actually to bring you back to the core, to what's most important, to actually how to not just have a meaningful life, or to have a meaningful life, and then what it takes in the moment to actually make that happen for yourself. And I have a powerful and amazing guest here today, Chance Thoreau. Chance, welcome.
Thank you.
And Chance is a leader of the Mankind Project. He has his own consulting firm. He's a certified leader trainer, and his private practice, as well as the other organizations he serves, has the mission to assist individuals find deeper, clearer understandings of themselves and their choices. And this lays the foundation needed to make small, sustainable changes for people that last a lifetime to improve quality of life, health, and relationships. He's worked with thousands of individuals from a diverse range of backgrounds toward results-driven change. And he initially volunteered and has become involved with the Mankind International Project for over 15 years now, which is incredible. And I know they do really deep, powerful work. And Chance's other passions include teaching intercultural literacy, peace building, developing programs, and serving organizations for armed service veterans, with the hope of helping them integrate back into society and share their gifts, beauty, and brilliance with communities. So Chance, thank you for being here. I have to say that in the conversation we had, getting to know each other, I felt really moved and touched by the depth of our conversation and by where you were willing to go and how connected you were willing to be. So thank you for being here today and for having this conversation.
Oh, you bet. Well, and thank you too, because I pretty much only want to have those types of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
That's what fulfills me, and I'm drawn towards and gravitate towards just deep conversation. I want to talk about real stuff.
Yeah, which seems like a really great lead-in, right? Because it seemed to me in that conversation, right, that you weren't just going to have a surface off-the-cuff conversation, even if that might be what people would typically do to start getting to know each other, which that's not my way either, right? But you were right there where you were like, all right, let's go there, right? Let's dive into the deep end here. Let's not waste our time with small talk.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that you weren't necessarily born like that. I don't know. Maybe you were.
No, not necessarily.
Okay. So how did you get to that place, right, where you value yourself, your time, your life in a way that's where you start.
Wow. I've had a fair amount of struggle. I don't know how to quantify it, but subjectively, I've struggled. I've had traumatic experiences and grew up in situations that were painful, and I don't think initially I understood, or certainly didn't appreciate, that struggle would help me become a stronger person,
Uh-huh.
and that through you know digging into those experiences and healing them and understanding them and recognizing the gifts that they were, and how I could recognize my strength by being able to endure and being able to glean from those experiences just powerful nuggets of wisdom, and then
Mm-hmm.
leverage them, and build on them more and more, until I began to really recognize what some of my superpower some of my superpowers are, and then utilize those superpowers initially to get my needs met in
Mm.
unhealthy ways, and then recognizing that they were a gift to be serve the world with.
Mm. So you're
um,
saying I mean, which I think is often the case, right? When we are faced with struggles and challenges and make our way through them, that we actually find superpowers that we didn't even know we had. Is that what you're saying? Like that's,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I
And
mean,
I'm
I grew up
curious.
thinking, I
Yeah.
grew up believing I was worthless. I grew up believing that I was unlovable and really subhuman in many ways throughout my childhood.
Mm.
And some of my behaviors then reflected that. I kind of
Uh-huh.
substantiated that for myself, and then behaved that way, acted that way, and made choices that were in alignment with that.
Yeah. And what did you find as your superpowers?
Well, one of them is that I have amazing intuition. And I think that intuition was born out of being in situations where I had to pay really, really close attention to
Yeah.
all the finite details of my surroundings, to, you know,
To stay safe, I would
to stay
imagine.
safe,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
survive emotional turmoil, as well as sometimes, physical, threat. And,
Yeah.
oh my God, I'm going to die. so, and so that came from that, and I would be hyper vigilant, and I could notice things, and I could see things, and I could read body language and facial expressions that was just polished and honed over gazillions of experiences.
Yeah.
The other is I have amazing willpower and focus, and I am tenacious. I'm extremely tenacious. um, a lot of the people who know me well say that I suffer well, that
Mm,
I'm
you
able
suffer
to,
well.
yeah, that I'm able to maintain and continue to move forward through what I want in spite of whatever suffering or pain or turmoil I'm in.
So the suffering doesn't actually take you down or stop you or keep you from continuing forward,
Right.
which that's an incredible skill to have.
It has landed me in some bad situations, but as I've
Huh.
gotten healthier, because I would be in negative and unhealthy situations, and I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm fine. It's gonna be okay.
Right.
Just kind of keep going." And I wouldn't recognize I don't have to be in this. This is actually not positive.
Okay,
You
so there's
know,
the dark side or the
duress.
shadow
Yeah,
side of it
this is.
also.
Yeah, I would just kind of keep. Okay, this is. And in some ways, I accepted that as normal because that was the type of environment that I experienced a lot as a child, was turmoil and suffering. And so it was familiar, and I didn't yet recognize how to leverage that in a way where I wanted to pursue some higher level of consciousness or deal with some reality about myself by having to face the truth that I do stupid stuff. I do things from my ego, and I do, um, you know, things to hurt other people. or be
Uh-huh.
aggressive or try to do things that are not the kind of man that I want to be. And to face that and to really have to own and face that truth about
Mm.
myself is, like not very pretty. I'm like,
No,
oh
it's
God.
courageous to really acknowledge those things about yourself and face that.
Yeah, I would agree.
And
It's
I'm
not
curious
for the faint of heart.
how. What did you say?
It's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's not for the faint of heart. And yet it seems like you've found something in that or through that, right? It seems like okay, there's the shadow side or there's the darkness of being able to maintain, in suffering. But it seems like you've also then, like you said, found your superpowers of being tenacious and having this willpower and being able to lead other people, and serve organizations for veterans and help people integrate back into society and, see people's gifts and brilliance. It seems like there's a lot that's come of this.
Absolutely. I seek out or hunt down places of fear or darkness in myself, or what myself or any of other people would maybe avoid. Like
Mm.
I don't really want to investigate that. It's not very pretty. And I'm like, I got to see what's in there. I'm, as much as scary as it is, or as much tension as this creates in my body, I got to go check it out, because I believe that if I can understand it and learn from it, I can integrate it, and then it's not a place of darkness for me anymore. It's a place of understanding. It's a place of it's a part of me that then I can retrieve and you know move towards greater wholeness.
Yeah. And when I look out at the general population, it seems like those are the things that people tend to avoid, right? Some of those shadow places or those darkness or the fears. And you seem to run run what do you call that? Like run headstrong or run straight forward into them.
Mm.
Is that true?
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely.
And what do you find there? I mean, because I think for many men listening, that could be a place of mystery, never been there. Why would I want to do that? Right. I mean, some men who I've worked with already know that as you go to some of those deeper places, you are more free, you are more whole, like you're saying. But can you give us some sense of what that's like for you?
So one of the things that I would correlate with what I was calling my superpower is the ability to endure and to take any kind of discomfort or negativity and not immediately react,
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to think in between the time that we're stimulated into some sensation in our body that we don't like, and what we do from there, what we choose and how we behave from there. um, so if we make a habit to build our capacity to endure uncomfortable situations, then when we're in an argument with someone we care about, that we love, we don't lash out, or we don't
Right.
jump to conclusions, or there's ability to maintain and endure connection
Yes.
rather than disconnect and push away, or something like that. Which to me, our ability to connect is probably one of the most important things in my life, and I think it's probably one of the most important things for most people
Yeah.
after they've established their basic needs that they have.
Yeah.
um, so putting ourselves in situations, or by choice, and operating in that way, and then ones that come up, not necessarily with us intentionally putting ourselves there, will continue to lead us all towards an outcome that is better.
Okay, I'm still kind of vague though. I'm starting to get a sense of what you're saying. And I think mm, I would say, I mean, in my own practice, it's similar, right? Like um every time I feel irked or agitated or frustrated or pissed off at something, I think for me, it is an opportunity to really understand what is going on inside of this psyche and who am I really on the psychological, emotional, spiritual, right? All these different levels. Um, and I don't want to say it's more rare for men to do that than for women. I don't think that's necessarily true. Maybe a little bit, but I'm wondering if you can give an example for a man to hear, you know, something like one of those experiences in a more concrete way.
Sure. I'll begin to tell this story, and then if it doesn't work, we'll tell another one.
Okay.
But so commonly for men, as we grow up, we're not allowed to cry. We're not allowed to feel sadness or to grieve. And so we get all these messages from society and from our family and all over media. We're bombarded by that. So this is ridiculous because, sadness is an important part of us as humans. It's an important
Yes.
part of us as a man. But when we feel that, when we begin to feel it, we contort it into other things, or we get angry, or we do all sorts of things to go numb so that we don't feel it. And without our ability to feel sadness, then there are a lot of other things downstream that begin to operate dysfunctionally.
Mm-hmm.
Sadness has a lot to do with our conscious, and I feel bad I did this or that, or I've lost something, something important to me, and I'll never get to have it again. And to just be with the loss, the hole in our heart around that thing or
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
And so if we continue to feel some type of sadness or grief or something like that, and we just want it to go away as fast as possible,
Mm-hmm.
then we don't get the full experience of life. We don't get to, sadness and grief is directly correlated with love.
Yeah.
Because the more we love something, the deeper our connection to something, the more painful it is when it's gone. We have friends or acquaintances, they come and go. We don't really experience a lot of pain from that.
Right. And
But
I'm imagining too, not just when they come and go, like a person leaves forever, but even in those small moments, right, of disconnection or disappointment or feeling unseen or any of those things.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So if rather than try to make those experiences go away and be done with them as fast as possible because they're inconvenient or because we're afraid we're going to fall down the well of grief and never be able to get back out,
Yeah.
we actually hang out there. I hang out there. I go in and sometimes I don't. I go numb. Sometimes I check out, but I continue to bring my consciousness back, and I want to hang out there because the more I can hang out there in my grief and in my sadness, which is connected to love, the more it informs me about how I live my life today, about
Yeah.
how I acknowledge and honor and hold my connections sacred that I do have now.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And um I mean, one thing that strikes me, right, is that you're doing this and you're also consulting in businesses and working with people in corporate or organizational realms, yeah?
Yeah,
And do those people know this about you? Is this something you bring into your work with them?
absolutely. Yeah.
And how does that
So,
happen?
well, I work with a lot of people who are quote unquote successful. And from the outside, things look really, really great. But anyone who works 60 or 70 hours a week, just an off the cuff example, it's going to hurt their health and it's going to hurt their relationships.
Yeah.
And so I don't consider someone to have any level of success if they don't have a connection and a relationship with the people that are the most important to them.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And one of the things that I will talk to them about. I don't care, nothing is off limits for me when my clients, I'll bring something up.
Yeah.
And if they don't treat their partner like they're the most important person on the planet, we have a major problem, because they are the most important person on the planet. And so usually it reflects then some misalignment, or priorities have gotten askew somehow.
Yeah.
And they've lost that, because there's an order to a person's life in terms of priorities and how they orchestrate things. And I'm, it is important to make money and to, be able to take care of ourselves, but a lot of stuff can run amok, and then we're suffering. We suffer.
Yeah, it's true. Right. And it's true. I mean, I like that you said, quote unquote, successful, because, in your definition of success and my definition of success, if you're not actually connecting with the people who are important to you, if you're not, finding meaning, finding fulfillment, it's not really actually success.
No.
So one of the things that I was appreciating that you shared before we started recording was, and it seems fitting in line with what you're saying, like that you actually head for challenges, or you're putting challenges in your path on purpose. It seems like, from what you said, right? You're not just like you're not avoiding the emotions or these dark places. Like, it sounds like you're actually creating challenges for yourself for your own growth. Is that right? Or did I misunderstand that part?
No, yeah, no, that is what I said. I said I'm in a very fortunate and privileged place that I get to choose to put challenges in my path. And some challenges come without, me creating them, but I get to do that. And I want to always remember and do that to seek out, tests or opportunities for me to say, all right, did I default and go back to, my tendencies toward violence, or, numbness, or checking, whatever that may be. Or did I endure? Did I go, wow, I gave it all I had, I gave 100%.
And what do you mean by you get to do that?
I see it as something that I get to do. I don't have to do it. I get to face these things. I get to approach these things, and I feel fortunate that I get that opportunity.
The opportunity to know whether you're going to give something your all, or whether you're going to fall back into your habits. That opportunity.
Yeah, if I'm going to, so my dad died last year, and I'm trying to be this woke person. I'm trying to be this very conscious, and I had been working on this stuff in basically kind of a dress rehearsal testing type way. But then I get to actually try it out. Am I going to fall apart? Am I going to run away? Am I going to, when I have an opportunity to connect with him, or attempt to connect with him throughout his dying process, am I actually going to face it? Or am I going to is it going to destroy me? Am I going to, fall back and use drugs, or, do whatever else I have to do to try to cope with that?
To avoid or cope.
To avoid, yeah. Rather than be in that experience, in the beauty and the power of that experience as full as possible.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because then my question for you is, right, what's the difference between falling apart, which sounds like you were saying it in a kind of negative way, versus actually letting yourself feel the intensity of that kind of situation?
Yeah. Well, I say fall apart when I lose my focus on living each experience to its fullest, living each moment to its fullest. When I fall apart, I've defaulted somehow. I've gone back to some other, unhealthy coping mechanism to try to not feel, to try to distance myself from some discomfort, or, oh God, I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to be afraid. I don't like that.
Right. So falling apart for you, you're not saying, um, like I think a lot of men's version of falling apart would be I'm feeling something, right? Like I'm feeling emotions and I don't really know. I'm a little bit out of control. I think for some men that's falling apart. But for you, your definition seems more like avoiding the truth of the
Yeah.
emotions.
Yes, absolutely. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. And okay, so now we're back to this concept, right, of living life to the fullest or living each moment to the fullest. And I guess I'm wanting a little more concrete on that too. Like it's even hard for me sometimes when I try to explain to people what happens when I do coaching or when I work with people where it's like there are these kinds of intimacy and these kinds of connections and these kind of experiences and aliveness that open up that I think a lot of people have never even experienced or never even imagined. It's like um, life in technicolor in a certain way. Um, and I'm wondering if you can explain for yourself what it's like to live a moment in the fullest. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Um, Great question. Good challenge.
Yes, now
I
I'm putting a challenge in your path.
yes, thank you. Well, one of the ways that I meditate every day, and one of the reasons that I do that is I just want to sit still and feel, and not necessarily think, but sometimes think, and be able to be okay, not stimulating myself, not
Oh,
distracting myself, not um, needing to fidget with this or be on my iPad or whatever, and to stimulate myself, and in some ways to kind of award myself that time. I've deserved this time to be with me and
yeah.
to learn who I am, ask myself questions, and continue to update, my who I think I am and what's important to me and what I want. And so I try to bring that into action as well.
Yeah.
Do I, um, as I live my daily life and walk into my kitchen, am I distracted? Have I lost my place? And who knows where I have drifted off into? Or am I in that moment? Am I in this very second of why I'm here, what I'm doing here, and who's around me, or am I
Mm.
alone, or whatever? um, I've been working this thing lately, this little kind of paradigm where we kind of time travel,
Yeah.
and we're constantly living in the past, and we're constantly living in the future.
Yep.
And I'd say we're living in the past and in the future quite a bit more than we're actually living in the right now.
Oh my God, probably 90% of the time,
Right.
in many moments.
So I think that we receive some type of stimulation, and all of a sudden, like my 5-year-old self just showed up. He just
Yeah.
like got transported here, and there he is, this child that's scared and needy, and who knows what else has just shown up. And then I begin to embody that entity, and I act through it.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I'm not really living in that time. I'm living 36 years ago.
Right.
And I'm experiencing things that are imprinted from that time rather than the evolved place that I am now. And I'm evolving. I'm not totally evolved.
Right.
I think maybe in the next 6 months I'll be there, but
I love it. Yeah. Go to the future and see if you can make
right,
that
right,
happen.
right. But that's what I mean by living in the moment, and in the moment, kind of being in the most purest experience of what's going on with me.
Yeah.
Am I in connection with my surroundings, and am I in connection with what's truly important to me, or have I gotten distracted or disconnected somehow?
Right. That's what I was hearing too, what you were saying, right? Like, am I actually aware of my priorities and what's most important to me in this moment? Or am I kind of, like you said, stimulating yourself or blowing off steam or just checking out or being, in the thoughts of the future or the fears of the future, the thoughts of the past? I mean, and I think it's really hard to explain what can show up being in the now, or, it's in my meditation practice, there's some weird and wild, crazy things that happen or that I can open up to inside myself and then in connection with others as a result. But maybe more the concrete ways to talk about it, right, are what you're saying is that as you're engaging in a moment, whether it's alone or with others, there's a sense, it sounds like you have, of, I know what matters to me. I know what I'm prioritizing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really here for that. I'm showing up for that instead of avoiding it or disconnecting from it
Right.
or numbing yourself to it.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'll do from time to time is I'll make a list of the people that I know I need to call, or I know I need to to have conversations with, and I can easily look at that list and I can be like, man, this is the last person I want to call, and then I call that person first.
Mm.
Because I want to lean into that. I want it to, and I don't do it all the time. I check out, I disconnect, I do that.
Yeah.
But if I make it a habit or attempt to make it a habit or to build a capacity or, expose myself to situations that, I would make up, or I tell myself a story about how horrible it's going to be. And then I avoid it rather than, oh, this is going to be really challenging. Okay, cool. I guess I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Or, oh man, I really don't want to do this workout at the gym. Oh, guess what? That's what I'm going to do.
Well, okay. And the question just came up for me, and this might be different for everyone, but I'm curious for you, why do this, right? Why choose to take on life in this way?
Because then in moments when we truly need to show up and be present, we've already made a habit out of it.
Hmm. And the moments where you need to truly show up and be present, what are those for you?
One, I almost anything I can think of is going to be loss.
Huh.
At some point in my future, I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to lose my health. I'm going to lose who's important to me. I'm going to lose my home. I'm not taking any of this stuff to the other side because I don't know what's over there.
Yeah.
But I'm going to lose all of that. And, how many times do you hear people say, well, I hope my partner goes after me so that I don't have to feel the pain of that.
Wow. Yeah.
And, me, I sometimes, or I'm entertaining the idea, I want her to go first because I want to have built the capacity to endure that pain and to feel the richness of having and then not having.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of my teachers, actually, I was sitting with her the other day, and she's in her 70s, and she had an experience with her partner or boyfriend where he had a seizure and they thought she had died. And she said to me, her husband, her ex-husband died, or it was her husband, I don't remember how you say that when someone passes away, but that was like 6 years ago. And when she met this man, she asked herself, like, am I going to do this again? Right? I'm probably going to lose him. I'm probably going to end up alone again. And am I really going to say yes to this? And she said, and I decided in that moment, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually going to, I wouldn't trade all the experiences we're going to have and the richness and the life and the intimacy we get to experience to then not have to feel that loss.
Yeah. It's like most things. I don't know if we want to take it to a business standpoint. I've had money and I've not had money. It's nice to have money, but can I deal with it when I don't? Does it unravel me? Does it, do I feel worthless? And I have been like, oh God, I'm such a failure. And, and I can embody that and then bring that into my whole life and every interaction. Or I can go, it's okay, this is temporary, and this is, I can learn from this, I can be with it and examine it and use it as an opportunity for inquiry rather than run away.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny, I feel where my mind keeps wanting to say, well, because I think you and I are similar, and I think I live this way also, but I almost keep feeling like I have to justify it for other people
Hmm.
so that it makes sense. It's like, I think my way of living hasn't necessarily always made sense to people around me.
Mm-hmm.
So in some ways I find a connection with you, like, yes, this all makes sense to me, but I don't know if it actually makes sense to other people.
Yeah. Well,
But it
who, how,
sounds,
how,
yeah.
how many of us have had healthy models around how to die well and how to be with grief well?
Oh my God, hardly anyone.
Yeah. So it's taboo. Death is taboo. We don't want to talk about it. And, it's a very unknown. And so we're going to sweep it under the rug.
Yeah.
Who was it? A friend of mine said, death is wasted on the dying.
Yes.
So, we, and we also kind of institutionalize it, or we get lost in details around that, by the service and the obituary and the whatever. It's like, this has nothing to do with the death, and so let's have somebody sort that out, or at least sort it out from in a minimal way, and then be in the experience of it.
Yeah. Right. And I think that's coming back to what we said in the beginning, right? To be in the experience is to actually live in a moment to the fullest, which I know for myself, sometimes just moves me to tears,
Yeah.
um, with how full it can be.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's funny. I'm also hearing my son in the background who's running around our house, whistling, singing, he's just having a blast. Um, and it just strikes me how much we can lose some of that. I mean, right, your childhood wasn't necessarily, in some ways, I think he's um, more safe, right? More
Mm-hmm.
than you were. And so, but there is this way, this innocence or this ability to just be in the moment when we're little that we don't necessarily keep as we get older, or we have to work to get back to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. This is probably a little pivot here in our conversation, but my work has been about how do I have fun and relaxed now.
Uh-huh.
I was telling you as we were, connecting before we started recording, that I had set out to embody being a more soulful person,
Yes.
and and I've just had to really look at the competing idea of being soulful and having fun.
Uh-huh.
And
Right. You can't have fun
I'm
if you're a soulful
right.
person.
I'm intense, and I'm these, and they just, sometimes I have yet to, where it's been my work to discover how those coexist,
Yeah.
how those are not just polarized dualistic type things, but everything is all there and can be there at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. I love hearing you say that. It's not what I expected you to say, but in some ways it just feels perfect, right? The paradox of the struggle and the superpower, and right, that paradox of being in your soul and having things be, truly meaningful and rich, but also like fun is not excluded from that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Again, just like sadness or any of these other things, like we've been granted that. It's our right to experience all those things, and um, so it's been fun to kind of investigate and be curious about, you know, when was the last time I felt elated, or
Yeah.
just really, and I've been experimenting, and I listen to music and kind of dance around and stuff like that. I think what's coming up to I'm challenging is, something about my identity, and, something else where I'm supposed to hold a particular image,
Yes.
again, probably some of that stuff's wound up in me as a man.
Uh-huh.
And
I was just thinking that, right? Like strong,
yeah,
powerful man
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
dance around elated,
right, yeah,
which, right, that's ridiculous that, to not get to experience the joy and the wildness or the play or whatever that is part of this life.
right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation. Um, I'm curious what you want to leave men with, what feels important to share as we're wrapping up.
Probably that Viktor Frankl quote, and I don't remember it to quote it verbatim, but there is an opportunity between stimulus and response where we have a choice. And in that choice, in that moment, in that choice, we have an opportunity to create something else.
Mm. Right. And
Between
Viktor Frankl.
stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our responses lies our growth and our freedom.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like, Viktor Frankl is just amazing. Totally.
He's right. I mean, right. As a Holocaust survivor and someone who was on the verge of death and chose life, and there's not much more inspiring than that. Yeah. And to really see, as you're saying, like, I think so much of life can be stimulus and reaction versus to actually slow down and recognize, that we can choose our response, that we can be here in the moment fully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something of a healthy legacy that I attempt to keep in my consciousness. So am I going to experience stimulus, and am I going to react from an old, outdated entity, or am I going to respond that's in alignment with what I want my legacy to be? I'm not going to have children, but but if I did, what would my children's children remember me as?
Yeah.
This like crazy, fly off the handle, violent, numb man, or will they remember me as someone who was present and soulful and fun?
Yeah.
So that's an important question that I like to filter my life through.
Yeah, I love that. Right. How can you respond in a way? What did you say that you want your legacy to be?
Yeah, that's in alignment with what I want my legacy to be.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. I love that as I love ending on that question, right? So for men listening, are you living in a way that you're responding in a way that you would want your legacy to fulfill? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad you joined us for today's episode of Man Alive. I hope you enjoyed our conversation and it gave you something to consider and explore in your life. If you like what you heard, I'd be so grateful for you to subscribe and write a quick review that helps men like you find us. And again, head over to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz or text the word ALIVE, ALIVE, to 44144 to get a sense of how you can become a better lover and leader. You'll start to see how you can be both more respected and desired in your unique and genuine way. If you don't feel as confident or as excited about life or love as you'd like to be, this quiz is a really great starting point and will guide you toward a more passionate love life and a more inspiring and successful career. So again, text ALIVE, ALIVE, to 44144 or head over to shanajamescoaching.com/quiz. Join us each week for a new episode of Man Alive.